The Galaxy Z Fold 3 is the culmination of more than 2 years of Samsung's journey in the very open foldable smartphone space, where they are the de facto leader. However, foldable phones are still very much niche in the high-end smartphone category, with the previous Galaxy Folds showing a mixed market response. However, I believe that the Galaxy Z Fold 3 and the Z Flip 3 for that matter mark a turning point towards the mainstream. We'll be discussing that more later, but for now, let's get on with the review. On the surface, the Galaxy Z Fold 3 looks pretty much exactly like its predecessor. For the uninitiated, this means we get a 7.6-inch foldable display and a 6.2-inch cover display. It's about 16mm thick when folded and 6.4mm unfolded. At 271 grams, it's definitely on the heavier end of the spectrum, but it honestly doesn't feel too heavy in the hands. Using the unfolded stance as our point of reference, on the right side we get the volume rocker and the power button that also doubles as a fingerprint scanner. On the left, the dual nano SIM card tray. Up top, a couple of microphones and one of the 2 loudspeakers. The bottom contains the other loudspeaker, another microphone, and the USB Type-C port. At the back panel, we can find the triple rear camera module, which we'll definitely get more into later. Now, if you're familiar with the Galaxy Z Fold 2, all of this is nothing new, since everything is in the exact same place. I'd even argue that if you put the two side by side, it would be pretty hard to distinguish one from the other. However, there have definitely been improvements in the Z Fold 3's design. Overall durability has increased thanks to Samsung's use of a new aluminum alloy, which they have dubbed Armor Aluminum. The cover screen gets a layer of Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, which is currently the toughest there is. The foldable screen is also topped with additional protection with a new PET layer to fend off scuffs and scratches. And probably the biggest one, IPX8 water resistance, a feature that the previous Z Fold 2 regrettably lacked. So in terms of design improvements from 2nd generation to 3rd, I'd say it's a pretty good balance. I'd even think of it as the difference between the Iron Man Mark III and Mark IV suits. Essentially the same on the outside, but the latter is simply just better. It feels really good to use, and for some reason it's not as uncomfortable as it once was to fold and unfold the device. And I'm pretty sure it's not just the fact that I'm a tech reviewer, because I've literally handed the Fold over to some non-techie family and friends, and it felt just as natural for them. Mind you, these are people who have never touched a foldable smartphone before, although I will admit it's a very small sample size. Now, taking a closer look at the Z Fold 3's displays, the inner screen is a 7.6-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X panel with a resolution of 1768 by 2208 and 120Hz refresh rate. The cover screen comes in at 6.2 inches and also uses a dynamic AMOLED 2X panel. Both displays have also received slight upgrades. The cover screen now has a 120Hz refresh rate and a marginally higher resolution than last year's at 832 by 2268. The inner screen also sees the introduction of Samsung's under-display camera, which is a little weird. For the most part, it does its job staying hidden pretty well, especially when the upper portion of the screen is black, such as when using the dark UI mode. However, it's a bit jarring once you introduce anything that's white or colored. See, it's not exactly that the camera is literally under the entire display. There still is a cutout for the camera, but it blends in with the rest of the screen by using an extra OLED matrix on top of it. The thing is though, is that this OLED matrix uses a substantially lower resolution than the rest of the screen, so much so that you can actually see the individual pixels. It definitely stuck out like a sore thumb during the early part of my time with the Z Fold 3, although I did eventually get used to it and forgot about it. And once I did, it was actually pretty cool having a screen with slim bezels all around, minus the previously requisite black notch or punch hole. In terms of raw display quality though, there isn't much to say other than that Samsung flagship panels are really best in class, showing great colors, brightness, and dynamic range. Scrolling through articles or social media is quite enjoyable on both displays given the 120Hz refresh rate support, and the inner display is a treat for watching content and productivity-oriented tasks like working on spreadsheets. After all, it's pretty much a pocketable tablet. As for audio quality, the stereo speaker setup proves to be amazing for watching videos and playing games. The sound can fill up a room and actually has a whole lot of depth and clarity to it. Even the bass packs a punch, which is rare for a smartphone. For software, the Galaxy Z Fold 3 runs on One UI 3.1.1 on top of Android 11 with a few extra features specifically made for Samsung's foldables. This includes Flex Mode, which on supported apps will split your display into two sections when folded into a 90-degree laptop-esque configuration. It's not the most practical way to use a lot of apps, but is great for watching YouTube videos in the background as well as taking shots with the camera app. And though not a new feature, the Edge panel is surprisingly more enticing to use with the Z Fold 3's large screen. Perhaps this is because your hands naturally rest on the sides of the device, making it easy to reach the area you need to swipe on to bring up the panel. The Z Fold 3 also features S Pen support, which is a very neat addition that adds a lot to its case as an all-in-one powerhouse. Unfortunately, for this review, we were not able to test it out. Anyway, moving on to storage, the Galaxy Z Fold 3 has two 56GB and five 12GB UFS 3.1 options, the latter being yet another upgrade over the previous model. Out of our review unit's 256GB, system resources take up 33.5GB, leaving you with around 222.5GB of usable storage space. Now, moving on to cameras. The Galaxy Z Fold 3 has a total of 5. We get a triple setup at the rear consisting of a dual-pixel main sensor, an ultra-wide, and a telephoto, all of which are 12 megapixels. The under-display camera is a 4-megapixel sensor, and the front-facing camera on the cover display is at 10 megapixels. Starting with rear camera performance, nothing has really changed performance-wise as we get the same exact hardware as last generations. However, it's still capable of delivering high-quality images under good lighting, showing a decent amount of detail, contrast, and has vibrant colors. The telephoto lens is locked at 2x optical zoom and 10x digital zoom, taking away a little bit of the flexibility that you otherwise would have with Samsung's other high-end flagships such as the S21 Ultra. Now onto front camera performance, it's very much a mixed bag. Using the 10-megapixel shooter on the cover screen produces decent shots with a good amount of contrast and great color reproduction. It'll do quite well for those situations where you need to snap a quick selfie. However, the same can't really be said for the 4-megapixel under-display camera. In comparison, shots look quite washed out and lacking in detail, leading me to think that it's only going to be good enough for taking video calls given the Z Fold 3's ability to stand up like a laptop. However, with some maneuvering, you are able to get great selfies by leveraging the rear cameras. You can use the rear cam selfie mode by opening the front camera on the cover screen and tapping the prompt on the upper right. You will then be able to use all three of the Z Fold 3's rear cameras with the cover screen acting as your viewfinder. This is undoubtedly the method by which you will be able to get the highest quality selfies from the Z Fold 3. Overall, you get a basic set of flagship level camera hardware, although it's clear that photography isn't intended to be one of the Z Fold 3's strongest suits. You can get great shots out of it, but it's no camera powerhouse like the S21 Ultra. At the heart of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3's internal hardware is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8885 5G chipset with an Adreno 660 GPU and 12GB of RAM. This is unsurprising given that the 888 is the current top-of-the-line flagship chipset. Needless to say, the Z Fold 3 is stupidly fast. The UFS 3.1 storage ensures that apps and files load very quickly, the hefty amount of RAM will give you all the multitasking overhead you could need, and the chipset will provide more than enough processing power for any task you throw at it. I mean, just look at these benchmark scores. As for gaming, I'm gonna talk more from an experiential standpoint here. Playing games on the Z Fold 3 is quite a cool experience. It's not really like gaming on a tablet, but more like playing on a really wide smartphone, if you catch my drift. The extra vertical screen real estate in landscape orientation adds some level of immersion and a unique control layout that you can't really find anywhere else. I'd say it's quite effective for MOBAs like Mobile Legends and League of Legends Wild Rift. As for battery, we have a capacity of 4,400 mAh, which is definitely something I think Samsung could and should improve in future iterations. Despite the improved efficiency that the Snapdragon 888 brings, using the Z Fold 3's large display for extended amounts of time makes it quite easy to drain the battery. Measures such as keeping the brightness on the lower side and switching to a 60Hz refresh rate do help extend uptime though. The PCMark Work 3.0 battery test rates the Z Fold 3 for 7 hours and 27 minutes, while our standard video loop test yielded a result of 16 hours and 16 minutes. These results indicate the possibility for all-day usage with 1 or 2 charges in between, which honestly isn't even that bad. However, if in the Z Fold 3's successor, Samsung is able to add a larger battery while maintaining or even further slimming down the form factor, that would really be something. Charging using a 25-watt Samsung fast charger took about an hour and a half from 0 to 100%. This, however, is not included in the box, so you'll want to keep your existing charger or be forced to buy one separately. The Galaxy Z Fold 3 is an impressive step in Samsung's foldable smartphone saga. However, I'm not as excited about the phone itself as I am for the future of the series. Last year, the Galaxy Z Fold 2 launched at a price of 109,990 pesos, and now the Z Fold 3 starts at 87,990 pesos. Take a quick gander over to the Z Flip side and the drop in launch price is even more dramatic. Whether the cost of manufacturing these smartphones has gotten cheaper, or Samsung is eating up the costs themselves to drive sales, it shows that the Korean giant is serious about making foldable phones more mainstream. No matter how the market would respond to this sort of development a couple of years down the line, I think it's exactly the kind of shakeup the smartphone industry needs. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 is, without a doubt, the king of the foldables. However, my eyes are on its heirs. And that wraps up our review on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3. What do you guys think about this phone? Let us know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to our channel for more content, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads, and be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Joey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.